Welcome to News Happenings. I am Joanna Matthew. Please stay tuned. Obi won on social media but lost presidential poll, says Olatubora SAN. In an interview with FRIDAY OLOKOR, a former commissioner for education in Ondo State, Dr. Remi Olatubora SAN analyzes the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal and how it will enrich the nation's jurisprudence. Kindly take a listen.
Dr. Remi Olatubora was asked in quote, "You are aware of the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. What are the lessons to be learned by candidates as Nigeria prepares for future elections?" In reply, he said, "One thing I will say straight away is that whoever as candidate intends to approach the law court or election tribunal for perceived injustice in the conduct of election or redress of perceived injustice must be prepared very well. The petitioner must be prepared, even before the election, to look into the possibility of ending up the race in post-election court, that is election tribunal, and that will mean that from the moment you are assigning your polling agents to the various units, you give the necessary training of what to look for and the note to take, and then you must also be prepared that as the results are being compiled and collated, you are also on your own collating reports from your polling units, and then, of course, having your polling unit agents contact so that you can call them anytime that is required to tell the election court exactly what transpired. This will serve a useful purpose. If you have to file a petition, for example, the reciprocity of notes taken by your polling agents will be a primary source of material for your lawyers who will trail your election cases if you will have to go to court. What happened during the day the PPT gave judgment was that people made allegations of non-compliance in respect of some areas without specifically identifying the polling units where those perceived non-compliance took place. And then you must also be prepared that as the results are being compiled and collated, you are also on your own collating reports from your polling units, and then, of course, having your polling unit agents contact so that you can call them anytime that is required to tell the election court exactly what transpired. This will serve a useful purpose. If you have to file a petition, for example, the reciprocity of notes taken by your polling agents will be a primary source of material for your lawyers who will trail your election cases if you will have to go to court. What happened during the day the PPT gave judgment was that people made allegations of non-compliance in respect of some areas without specifically identifying the polling units where those perceived non-compliance took place. For example, somebody said that there was massive non-compliance in Ondo State, or there was massive non-compliance in Ondo State. But it's not only about the state, you will have to ask which local government, and when you identify the local government, in which ward of the local government. When you identify the ward, you need to go ahead and ask which of the polling units, so any complaint about the conduct of election must be referable to a particular polling unit. The nature of your complaints with respect to those identified or disputed polling units must also be specifically stated in your case. If you do not state them in your case, they cannot lead to evidence in what you have not stated in your pleading. The lawyer will say that evidence led in the case of fact that is not pleaded goes to no issue. Going forward, any person who is going for election must prepare to win and must be prepared to lose, and this will require that you prepare yourself and your agents and have it at the back of your mind that you might need to approach post-election litigation so that you will not be caught napping and you will not base your complaints on hearsay or speculation. The law requires specific complaint. He was also asked this question. For some people, the decision of the tribunal on the status of the Federal Capital Territory appeared not to have been addressed, and critics believe that it would have afforded the tribunal an opportunity to really make a definite statement on the FCT status concerning the 25% requirement for a president to be declared. In response, he said, "You know, the problem we had during the judgment delivery was that people slept because of the length of the time it took. The lawyers slept, and even members of the public who were at home slept. So only the judges perhaps did not sleep, but I was awake. I watched the judgment, and that issue of the FCT status was addressed. The Constitution says whoever is going to be declared the winner of the presidential election must score the majority of the lawful votes cast. In the case of the presidential election, it is not good enough that you won the majority of the votes cast. You must win at least 1/4 of the total votes cast in at least 2/3 of the states and the FCT. The issue that came up was whether the FCT enjoys a special status, that is to say, whoever seeks to be declared as president must have at least 1/4 of the votes cast in the FCT, the judges said it is no. The judges interpreted the Constitution to have stated that you are required to have at least 1/4 of the total votes cast in 2/3 of 37. That means that for the purposes of calculating the geographical spread of the support of the candidate who is to be declared the elected president, the FCT will be treated as if it were a state. I remembered that the judges emphasized on the issues of freedom and equality and the essential importance of treating individuals in this country equally, such that the votes of some of us who are privileged to be in the FCT will not be seen as more important than the vote of the man in Bielsa or the man in Kotsina or the man in Ondo. If the Constitution requires that you should have at least 1/4 of the total votes cast in 2/3 of the states, why should that of the FCT be different? The Constitution is clear on that. I must tell you that the interpretation that there is a special requirement that you must have 1/4 in the FCT was invented aftermath of the 2023 presidential election, and I say that with all due sense of responsibility, because you will find that even while delivering judgment, the judges also relied on several decisions of the Supreme Court on when issues of geographical spread have been decided upon in the past. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Please like, share and subscribe for part 2 of this interview. Do have a great day.